What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Trigun score from the 1998 soundtrack to the original anime, composed by Imahori Tsuneo and guitar work by Imahori Tsuneo. And I think that is relevant for this track, meaning I do believe we hear the series composer and arranger on guitar specifically. And the track is Colorless Sky, which I think is a metaphorically meaningful title in that we often hear reference in some episodes, and in particular when the main character Vash is feeling happy or carefree about the rich blue hue of the sky. And here, calling it a colorless sky, I think speaks more to ambiguous moments, and there's a sense of anticipation to the track. It's a very sparse tune in terms of the sonic density. It has a bit of a frontier, like Old West sound, and I think we do often hear it when we're going to wait and see what's going to happen narratively. You know, someone presenting themselves maybe as a danger, maybe Vash and the other people in the story, Meryl and Millie in particular, when they're arriving at a new town and it's unclear, you know, what dangers, what possibilities they may face. So I feel like the phrase color the sky might speak to the emotional and or situational ambiguity, whereas the blue sky is perhaps best represented in a tune like Stories to Tell and maybe one or two others, where it's a warm, inviting, and very pleasant sounding tune. So this one, there's certainly no tension or dissonance, but again, it's a bit more unclear. It's emotionally ambiguous, and I think the colorless sky metaphor of there being some lack of certainty about what's going to happen or how Vash and others are feeling is well represented. So let's give it a listen. This is by series composer and guitar player Imahori Tsuneo, the track Colorless Sky from the 1998 soundtrack to the original Trigun anime. So not only a frontier western type of atmosphere, but a bit of a bluesy flavor, especially in, you know, certain riff moments there. And people will know who've watched any of the reactions I've done so far, and certainly those who've watched the show. And indeed, thank you to Sophia for commenting extensively, and Michaela's been commenting, Chris has been commenting, and I've talked to Chris about the show going back quite a while. But yes, there's definitely a blues flavor to the soundtrack overall, and lots of tunes not only with bluesy guitar but some saxophone. So yes, it's a really interesting soundtrack, even in the context of anime, where soundtracks tend to be wide-ranging and have tunes with some very different flavors. But this soundtrack is perhaps a bit more focused in that there is a lot of bluesy and western type sounds and tracks. So yeah, this one fits right in with that. It's a bit more austere. Again, it's a bit more unclear, like what the emotional feeling is. There, I can definitely see when I hear this tune, Vash with his reflective sunglasses on, like looking out to the horizon with a slightly more serious face. It's, not goofy Vash. It's not having fun Vash. It's not angry Vash or action intensity Vash. It's more like he's surveying the land, getting a sense for what might be the case, and of course that might be in relation to the physical environment, but also the people that he and the other main characters encounter, who run the gamut of being very helpful right on up to betraying him and them, and that might even be the same person over the course of an episode. So yeah, there's a colorless ambiguity, and again, I think there's a clear conceptual linkage to the sky and the emotional feeling in a given episode, scene, or within Vash himself. So I think it's a very purposeful track, and even though it might not be the most memorable because it doesn't have, a big sweeping melody or a crazy saxophone solo, it definitely fits the overall vibe of the show quite well. So in any case, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.